it's your girl, Miss Jennifer, and I am back today. I have a special guest with me. So we're doing the show a little differently. I know you guys are used to seeing me on video, but my guest is all over the place, which you'll hear about very shortly. So have to catch him when I can. So today I have in our guest is a professional and international videographer and cinematographer, Rogers Williams, also known as Mr. MriWillFlyThere. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jennifer. How about yourself?
I'm good. All right. So I've been trying to get you to do one of my shows for a minute, so I finally got you.
Yeah, well, nice to be here, and always excited to share any kind of knowledge I can with the people and just enjoy and live life to the fullest.
All right. So I'm excited for my viewers or listeners in this case to get to hear from you. But I did refer to you as Mr. MriWillFlyThere, which is the name you use, with your travel blogs and other things. So let's start out with, why the name of Mr. MriWillFlyThere? Where did that come from?
That came from just my wanting to, explore the world. Even when I was younger, my parents and I, my brothers, we would travel, kind of like all over the U.S., but never really went outside of the United States. So back in 2010, I applied and got my first passport, and actually in 2012 took my first international flight. But before that, I had started a YouTube channel called Mr. MriWillFlyThere, and I actually started the YouTube channel before I even took my first flight, I think, technically. So Mr. MriWillFlyThere is just a feeling, an idea, like how I feel about, being passionate about flying places and exploring new things. And, I think I was talking with one of my good friends one day, and he was like, well, I bet you won't go there. And I was like, I will fly there, I will. So I was like, you know what, I'm Mr. I will fly there. So that's kind of how I came about that name.
Okay. So with that, and that's the thing, we hear a lot of people talk about how they want to travel, and that's something people say, I want to travel and see different countries, but most of them never actually do it. So what I thought is so awesome about you is that you're one of the few people I know that talked about traveling and then actually did it. So was there anything outside of, just traveling the U.S. from a young age that actually influenced the decision for that first trip? I know your friend, said, I bet you won't do this, but was there anything that just really at that time motivated you that said, look, the time is now to do this?
Well, I'll get to that in 1 second. Prior to that, I kind of always had the mentality, like an international mentality. So I will always try different foods and eat different foods. Even when I was in college, I had friends from, various backgrounds and cultural backgrounds and beliefs. And I will always, hang out at the International Students Association, try new foods every week. So I've literally always had international mindset from a very, very young age, even going back to high school and middle school. But fast forward, my first international flight was actually a work trip. I was filming for a music artist named Travis T, and he's out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I had done some videos for him for maybe 2 or 3 years at that point. And I think we even did an out-of-town trip to Orlando to film a show that he did. And I was like, he asked me, he was like, hey, I know that, you keep your travel options open for, the U.S., but how do you feel about going somewhere internationally? And I was like, hey, I got my passport. I've had my passport for 2 years. It has dust on it. What's up? And, he pretty much was like, hey, I have an event in Spain going on. I want to, film a documentary and also capture, a live performance. So that's pretty much what happened, with that trip. It was a work trip, but also it was his first time out of the country as well. And we're around the same age. I think he's the age of one of my younger brothers, and but we're around the same age, so we got to experience going overseas for the first time, at the same time, and it was a really, really nice experience.
Okay, awesome. So your first international trip was actually a business trip.
Yeah, it was a business trip. It was to Spain, a place called Sevilla, Spain, or Seville, Spain, or Sevilla, as the locals would call it. And so, yeah, it was in Spain. I really didn't even know Spanish besides, hello and thank you and goodbye and all that, the very bare minimum basics. And so, yeah, we got a chance to see, outside of filming, working, we got a chance to hang out and meet people from all over the world. Got to catch a bullfight. That was crazy. Got a chance to catch a flamenco, what they call flamenco, which is like a kind of a cultural dance with music and everything. It's like a 4-person kind of band type thing, but it was a really nice experience. We got to experience a lot of what that culture had to offer.
And I'm going to come back to you in a minute and talk to you about culture. But before we get to that, for my listeners and viewers that don't know you, I know where you've been and the different places you've seen, but so that they understand why you are Mr. I Will Fly There, why don't you just let them know some of the different places that you have been outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, I've been a few places. Not like I can't say I've been to like 100 countries, but I've probably been to a good 10 to 12 countries. A few countries in Europe, such as Ireland and Germany, of course Spain. Went to Iceland as well and saw the Northern Lights. Been to Africa. Last year I was in Ethiopia, Africa. Also I visited Hong Kong and Japan as well. And then kind of the local places as far as, the Bahamas and, Canada. I've been there as well. Niagara Falls in Canada, Bahamas. And one of my favorite places now, I guess one of my go-to favorite places is the Philippines. So I've been there, maybe 4 times in the past 3 years. So that's my personal favorite spot to go right now.
Okay. And the Dominican Republic, right? Most recently, correct?
Yeah, most recently the DR, Dominican Republic, which was a little, I don't want to say eerie, but, a lot of people had been dying in the DR, but they had been, at different resorts, and they were drinking, drinks out of a mini bar that had been kind of laced improperly with, the wrong drinks or whatever, or some kind of refill situation. So, but when I was there, everything was fine. Nothing bad happened. And my Spanish, from going to Spain a few times with Travis T over the years, my Spanish was actually, impressive. To me, it was. And to them, they were like, "Oh, are you Dominican?" Or, "Oh," they were like, "Oh, you know a little Spanish." So I took that as kind of a pat on the back. I wasn't a super, super gringo foreigner and kind of trying to piece together things. I'm actually able to kind of, construct sentences and get my point across in kind of a kiddish type way, but they still understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, awesome. And for those of you listening, when I did laugh when he was talking about the eerie, so I was not laughing at the situation that people had died, but I just remembered just some of the reactions that Rogers was getting when he said he was going to the DR and the panic people were having when he announced that. So that's actually what I was laughing at. So I want to make it clear that I wasn't making light of the situation for the people who had passed. Now, back to you.
Yeah, and many people that I know, like friends of mine, and many people that I know, they were like, "Oh, well, be careful out there," and or they would say certain things like, "Hey, it was nice knowing you. I'll speak nice at your funeral," and
oh wow,
say I'll say nice things. Don't worry. People were going overboard, and so that's one reason why I like to go places too that have a stigma about it, You go there and it's like nothing is going to happen to you. You know, it's a lot safer than walking around the streets of America.
Right, right. So what I'm going to get into now is, since you have been to, you know, a few different places, a lot more than, you know, probably the average American has traveled to, how has visiting different countries and experiencing different cultures changed your perspective of how you view life now, or has it changed your perspective any? You don't have to go like super deep into it, but has it changed your perspective in any kind of way?
I wouldn't say it has changed my perspective on the world, but the more that I travel, the more, you know, like we like to have all these, you know, invisible borders, and you know, a president talk about building a wall to separate people, and you know, you're this religion or that religion. You know, the more I travel, the more I find out that we're really the same in most aspects of life. You know, most people just want to live life. They want to raise their kids and have a good, you know, spend time with their family and friends, and, you know, work and have a work-life balance and enjoy life. So for the most part, you know, 99.9% of people in the world just want to live, breathe there, and enjoy life to the fullest that they can. You know, of course, there's adverse poverty in a lot of places that I've seen. And, you know, you have abundance in many places as well. You know, I had a layover in Dubai recently, and, you know, just the abundance in that one city alone is just breathtaking. So, you know, I get to see like many, many different facets of life, but, you know, it also helps me to kind of stay grounded as well and know that, hey, there are a lot of people that's doing worse than me. There's a lot of people doing better than me. Let me just kind of live my life the best that I can, and, you know, not be in any competition with anybody, and just kind of, you know, live it to the fullest.
Okay. And that kind of falls into, you know, what I was going to ask you about. If, you know, had you seen anything or experienced anything in these other countries with their cultures that may have caused you to shift your, you know, your view on family or business or anything like that, and maybe not just broadly shifted, but has it, you know, sometimes we see something and it makes us look at something completely differently than how we did it our whole life.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one instance, well, not a particular instance, but in general, you know, the United States, we're more of an individualistic society. You know, it's kind of like me. You know, at 18, you're expected to go out and, you know, kind of find your way in the world and make a name for yourself and get a house and, you know, just be on your own and live life. Of course, you still have support sometimes from family, but in most other cultures, you know, people are really, really rooted in family. You know, a lot of times they'll live right near their other family members. They will, you know, it's more of a collective type environment versus, you know, an individualistic society, which, you know, sometimes is good and bad. You know, sometimes sometimes you don't want your family out, you know, in every facet of your life, in every, you know. So sometimes I think, you know, it can be kind of a tricky situation if you have family around you all the time, but it definitely, you know, doesn't hurt to have family. So that's one of the main things I've seen is like the United States is, you know, as a whole, we're very individualistic when it comes to, you know, everything. Like, you know, even down to like ordering food. It's like, hey, this is my plate and this is my meal. This is my ticket. You know, this is what I'm paying for. Get your own. And in many other cultures, it's, hey, you know, we're all going out to eat. We're going to order this one big plate, this one big meal, and everybody just kind of goes for it. And it's just a little different here sometimes in that aspect.
And adding on to that, so why do you think it's important for, I'm speaking about Americans in general, but even more so, especially Black Americans, why do you think it's important for us to experience life outside of the United States? Yeah,
life outside of the United States as an African American, it's it's been a really, really gratifying experience for the most part. Really gratifying. Here in the United States, of course, that everything that's going on here with, many black people getting shot by the police and, just really not even feeling wanted here in this country a lot of times. When you go overseas, all of that kind of disappears. You're, treated as a human being. I'm not saying that you're not in America, but overseas, especially a lot of the non-European areas, even some places in Europe is very nice, but definitely outside of Europe, you're going to be, treated pretty much like a king or a queen. I've seen many black individuals, black Americans traveling and just really, enjoying life. I've met, several black Americans overseas, in the Philippines and various places, and many of them don't even want to go back to America. Some of them live abroad permanently now. That they've been treated so well. So I think it's just an eye-opening experience that more people need to do, especially black Americans, to see, to get that kind of, like how we have in the South, like the Southern hospitality. It's taken to another level because people all around the world respect black culture, especially in America. You go places and they're watching, LeBron James on TV, or they're watching, movies and sitcoms with black people in it. They're listening to hip hop music and reciting, the lyrics, even though they may not even know English that well. And it's just amazing to see that.
Right, so where do you, and I know you've experienced, several different cultures, and you have your own thing about each of them that you enjoy. But right now, out of where you've been so far, so at the moment, what would you say has been your most, what would be your favorite culture right now that you've experienced outside of the U.S.?
I guess since I've been there so much now, I will have to say right now, I will have to say the Philippines. The Filipino culture. People are extremely friendly there. I'm walking around the streets and, men and women, if they lock eyes with you, they're going to smile at you. They're going to do little they have this thing where they raise their eyebrows, and smile at you. And it's like, oh, wow, this is extra friendly. And it's just you just wow, this is just so nice. Everybody's friendly. They're like, hey, sir, how are you doing? Are you from the U.S.? What brings you here? Why do you like our country? And so for me, I was going to Miami a lot, years ago. So to me, I love tropical weather, sunshine, water, and good food. And so when I can combine all of that in one place, and it's for the low, for cheap, that's a no-brainer. And that's what you experience. Even outside of the United States, places like the Philippines or Dominican Republic or, many other places, the United States dollar is so good compared to their economy that, you can get hotel rooms for, $20, $30 a night, $50 a night, and you're living in places that's equivalent of nice Hilton hotels and everything, but at a fraction of the cost. Or you're eating a meal and it's $2, and you got a whole plate and you can barely even finish it all. So, that's one of the reasons why I like the Philippines. It takes a while to get there. It takes a whole day to get there. But once you're there, you're there, and you can really kind of sit back and relax.
Okay. So since you've talked about the culture, I know, you said, Philippines is one of your favorite countries to visit, and you've had a lot of different experiences in the different places. But what right now, because, what would be that you haven't been to? What would be your ultimate travel goal right now?
I really don't have ultimate travel goals because I just look at places and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go there. The first time I went to Spain, I was in Lenox Mall here in Atlanta, and I was at the money exchange place, and I was exchanging out some dollars for euros. And the lady was like, "Oh, you're going to Spain?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Well, enjoy it. Wow, that's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So enjoy it. And I'm like, just like you didn't know me. And no, I'm Mr. I Will Fly There. I'll fly there again if I have to. So since 2012, I've been to Spain like 3 times. So if there's a place I want to go, I'm just going to go there. I'm going to figure out a way to get there. And you know, but on the radar right now, I definitely want to go back to Africa. You know, last year I was in Ethiopia. Ethiopia just signed a peace treaty with their neighboring country of Eritrea. So I definitely would like to explore more of that area more. The last time I was there, I was only there in Addis Ababa, which is their, you know, major city there, the capital city. And it was kind of, I don't want to say it was dangerous to go outside of that city, but I was told that it could be difficult getting back into the city because of different kind of, you know, activities that was going on. Not anything like dangerous, but they did have like a lot of different checkpoints and different things like that. So I definitely do want to explore more of the countryside of Ethiopia. And you know, that's the only African nation that had never been conquered by Europe. So I definitely want to explore more of that history as well.
I remember when you were there, because I remember seeing it on the news. I don't remember what happened. Was it like it was a situation? I don't remember if it was a bombing or a shooting. It was something that was going on while you were there. And I remember I messaged you like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "I'm fine." So I do remember that when you were there and those things were going on. But I was going to get to the countryside. So you said you didn't really get a chance to explore that side of it. But I do know you want to go back. So what other areas outside of there would you like to visit? Because I've heard a lot of people, more so Black people, you know, who have gotten a chance to go to different parts of Africa, say that they have this, it's like a spiritual experience for them when they get there and they touch down, and it's something that they can't describe. And you know, provided I know they may have been in a certain area, but what's your goal with Africa besides where you've been and outside of that city? Do you have a goal?
Yeah, and touch back on what we just talked about as far as the bombing or whatever. When I was there, that was actually like the president was holding like this rally, and I think they were trying to get the peace treaty signed at that point. But of course, there's always going to be opposition, you know, like, so there was, it wasn't a bombing per se, but I think someone let off like a grenade, and it ended up like injuring like dozens of people. And I think 1 or 2 people died from that, I think, as well. So that's kind of technically what happened. I was just told to kind of, you know, lay low that day. I mean, I wasn't anywhere near that stadium where it happened. I mean, I think I was a few miles away, but I wasn't anywhere close to it. So I just kind of stayed, you know, laid low that day. But as far as the rest of Africa or anything like that, yeah, like even touching down, like I don't know, I can't say, oh, I felt this great spiritual connection and something just came over me and I was just overwhelmed, and you know, you're thinking about slavery and everything that happened. You know, I'm more about, you know, just kind of seeing how things are today. Yeah, slavery happened and, you know, it was a bad thing, but I do want to just see how people are living, you know, today. And I think I even saw, I read the other day that Ghana, you know, they have their doors open for African Americans to come there and do business and live. And they're making it very easy for a lot of, you know, African Americans to move back. Or move to Africa. I won't say back to because we've probably never been, but to move to Africa and kind of get rooted in everything. So, yeah, Africa has many, many different nations. I definitely do want to explore more of them. But more immediately right now, if I were to go back anytime soon, it will probably be back to Ethiopia and explore a little bit more of that country. Maybe Kenya. That's kind of closer to there as well, and Eritrea, and just kind of see how people are living, see what's going on, and actually being in Africa, speaking of African Americans traveling abroad, being in Africa, that was like the first in Ethiopia. That was the first time where where I had been traveling, where I truly kind of blended into the rest of the society. Because everywhere else I was going, if it was Japan, somewhere in Asia or, Europe or just anywhere else, yeah, there are black people there, but not like 99.9% black. So when I was there, like, people didn't know. Like, some people were walking up to me talking Amharic, which is their language, and I was like, oh, no, I don't speak it. Like, some, like, they really couldn't, like, you really don't know if I was from there or not. So to me, that was kind of a nice thing, too, to kind of blend in all the way, except for when I spoke. But just to blend in all the way, just to walk and not have to worry about, hey, they're looking at me as an outsider.
Right. All right. So, Rogers, I do know that you are on the move and you are a busy guy, so we're not going to hold you too much longer. But before we end, do you have any closing remarks? And let the people know where they can find you on social media or your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, if I would just say this, if you've never traveled before, definitely give it a look. And I tell people this all the time. You don't have to leave the country. If you live here in the United States or pretty much anywhere, you don't have to leave your particular country to travel. Traveling could be, okay, before I even went to Ethiopia once, I had been eating Ethiopian food for almost a decade here in Atlanta. So I had already kind of seen like Ethiopian people and had a few friends and eating the food and like, okay, wow, this is nice. So like when I got to Ethiopia, I was like, okay, this is the food, like this is very familiar. So I would say before you go to another country, try to go to a place inside of your own city and see what it's like. It may be a restaurant, it may be a cultural event, it may be some kind of building or something. Like, just go to like different places where these like different cultures and different people hang out at, and start to get comfortable like being in unfamiliar environments. And then when you're overseas, it'll be even easier to handle. And this last thing I would say is looking to travel, or what they call travel hacking. Most of the travel that I do, if it's not for work, most of the leisure travel that I do is completely free. Now, I don't want to say completely free, but for the most part, most of my flights are free, and then I pay for the hotel. Well, how do I do that? I do that by utilizing points that I generate from using various credit cards and various travel credit cards. And as anything that I get, if I'm getting gas for my car, if I'm buying food, anything I do, instead of using a debit card, I use a travel rewards credit card, and those points accumulate over time, and then eventually I have enough for a free flight. So I would say look into that as well, because that's one of the major factors that a lot of people say is, oh, well, travel is expensive. Okay, well, I say, where will you go if you could go for free? Where will you travel to if you could fly there for free? And the answer is anywhere. So I would say just look, anyone listening, definitely look into that as well. It's a travel hacking using, credit card points and different systems to generate points and miles. And then that way, your expenses are definitely cut down. But yeah, in social media, it's Mr. MriWillFlyThere on Instagram, Mr. MriWillFlyThere on YouTube as well. And so that's where that's where you can catch, most of my travels.
Okay. And guys, make sure you definitely check out that YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/MriWillFlyThere. Rogers has a lot of his travel vlogs on there. You get to see a lot of different things. And, of course, he is a professional videographer, so there's some great shots in there. And I would just say, get the passport. Even if you don't have plans to go anywhere, but you know you may want to go, just go ahead and get the passport. You never know when opportunity is going to come up. You can be ready. And I think you're more likely to make plans later if you put the money down and spent money on that passport. So I want to thank you, Rogers, for coming on. Finally got you here, and thank you. It was a great conversation. And,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm sure that our listeners out there can learn a lot and, have a lot of things to take away from this conversation. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Again, you have the social media outlets for Rogers, which is MriWillFlyThere, and you can catch me on Instagram at missjennipher Unlimited. That is MissJennipher Unlimited. And on YouTube, you're probably already there, but it's youtube.com/missjennipher. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Peace.